Alright, here is our final last two problems that we need to do to continue and finish up our notes with finding the or using square roots to solve quadratic equations. So let's try a story problem. Alright, here we go. Read along with me. A touch tank has a height of 3 feet. Alright, so 3 feet is how tall it is. Its length is 3 times its width. The volume of the tank is 270 cubic feet. Find the length and the width. Okay, so there are fish in here, and they're able to touch the fish. Okay, touch tank. The height is 3. The length is 3 times the width. Okay, so we don't know the width. So this will be the width right here. Right here is the width. And then the length is 3 times the width. So 3W. Alright? So we didn't know the width, so we used a variable. And then the length is 3 times that. Okay, we're looking for volume. Volume is length times width times height. So that's volume. Okay, so here we go. Length. Length is 3W, so we'll replace length with 3W. Width in our problem is just W, so we'll keep that one W. And height is 3 feet, so instead of H, we'll replace that with a 3. And that's going to equal the volume, and they tell us the volume is 270. So we will replace V with 270. Okay, now on this side we're multiplying it. When you multiply, you can multiply in any order you want, and they do not have to be like terms. So let's go 3 times 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. And then W times W, W times W is W to the second power. And it still equals 270. Okay, we can use this new square root trick. Divide both sides by 9. Divide both sides by this 9. And that'll give you W squared. Let's see, 270 divided by 9. I think that would be 30. Great. We have the squared term isolated. The opposite of squaring something is take the square root. So we take the square root of both sides. And I'm running out of room here, but I think I can fit. I'll get W equals either the positive or the negative square root of 30. Remember, it could be plus or minus square root of 30. Okay, now we got to make sense of this. So let's go back. We're looking for the length and the width. Okay, would it make sense for the width to be a negative number? Okay, square root of 30, maybe we should figure that out. So grab a calculator, type in square root of 30, and you'll see that it's approximately, it's approximately, let's see, 5.5. So we have plus or minus 5.5. Okay, because the square root of 30. If you type that into your calculator, you'd see it's about 5.5. Okay, so does it make sense for the pool width to be a negative 5.5 feet? No. So the width has to be 5.5 feet approximately. Can't be negative. And the length, let's see, the length was 3 times the width, right? The length is 3 times that. So we're going to go 3 times 5.5. And that's going to be approximately 16.4 feet. And then you can check it. Multiply 5.5 times 16.4 times 3, length times width times height, and it should turn out to be about 270. Alright, let's try the last problem. What if the volume of the tank is 315 cubic feet? Alright, so basically the same problem, but the volume's 315. So we're still going to go length times width times height. length times width times height, to give you volume. And the length is still 3W, and the width is still W, and the height is still 3, but the volume now is 315. Alright, so let's try this problem. Okay, we can multiply in any order we want. So I'm going to multiply, it's all multiplication. So commutative property of multiplication, you multiply in any order. So 3 times 3 is still 9. And W times W is W to the second power equals 315. Okay, we're going to try this solving by square root method. So we're going to take 315 and we're going to divide by 9. We're going to divide both sides by 9. And 315 divided by 9 is 35. And the opposite of squaring a number is to take the square root. And you have to take the square root of both sides. You have to keep the equation balanced. And you'll get W equals plus or minus the square root of 35. Don't forget the plus or minus, a very common mistake. A lot of kids just think it's positive square root of 35. But you got to remember it could be negative. Because when you square a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, the square root of 35 is approximately 5.9. So that's going to give us approximately plus or minus 5.9. Now in this story problem, the negative doesn't make sense. You can't have a negative width. So we can forget the negative. And so the width would be 5.9 feet. And the length would be 3 times that, right? Because in the picture the length is 3 times the width. And 3 times 5.9 is right about 17.7 feet. Alright, I hope this is helpful. Good luck with your homework.